Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the blue widget or the CC in the box located on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Welcome to the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. We have adapted our regular business education workshops at City Hall into these webinars until further notice. Please note, any email or website that I mentioned will be posted in the chat box. All BACP offices are open to limited members of the public. Masks are required in all BACP facilities. For those seeking business license assistance, we strongly encourage the process of license and permit online. Business license can be applied for or renewed at chicagobusinessdirect.org, or you can call 312-74-GO-BIZ. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. I will post the mentioned information in the chat box. We encourage all attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box and send your questions to all panelists. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Today's webinar is entitled Getting Started with Your Website. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Francisco for us to begin.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Francisco Ramirez. I am co-owner of Chimbly Consultants. We focus on tech support and marketing services for small businesses. My particular focus as a co-owner is on marketing. I do one-on-one consulting and group consultations on marketing strategy, social media, and website design. One-on-one, I facilitate workshops as well, and I present throughout the city of Chicago. So maybe you've seen me before. If so, welcome back, and I'm glad you're back. I do one-on-one sessions individually, catered around marketing strategy and tactics. And then I also run social media accounts and MailChimp accounts for small businesses. So if you're interested in any of those services, you can always email us or visit our website at www.chimbly.com. I'm really excited to be here today. We are going to talk about the basics of getting your business online, how to get started with your website. Give me a second here, get it started. So today's agenda, we will cover comparing website providers, cost of website platforms, the different types that exist out there. We're going to discuss the essential elements of a website and how to write content for your website page. So it's very basic. So if you've really thought about where do I start? How do I start? Today you're at the right workshop. If you already have a website, maybe you'll think this is repetitive, but hopefully not. So it's very basic, and I hope you get a lot out of it today. So we'll start with why. The why do I need a website? If the pandemic didn't teach us anything, I won't be able to convince you, but we need a presence online. We need to be online in 2022 because that is how we are found. That is where people are looking for new businesses, for new products and services. And if you're not online, then you are missing a huge part of your business strategy. A website makes your business look professional. It gives it authenticity. It gives it authority. When people look for you and find you, they know that you're real, that you exist, they're not going to get scammed. A website has the ability to attract new customers that you are not even aware that are out there. It also is an ability to quickly and effectively showcase your products and services, especially if you're changing your products and services occasionally or every quarter. It's a really quick way to adapt and change that and inform your customers of these new products and services. It's also an opportunity to brag, to display your best reviews, your testimonials, to put out there your best face. It encourages customers to contact you. It saves you time. Why? How? Well, when you want to inform your clients and customers of updates and changes and things that are happening, a website is a really quick way to do so. Once you update that website, anybody can see it. So it's really quick. And I know all of us here have been on websites, and it's success over long term. When we think about who was prepared for the pandemic, in terms of being online and ready to switch and pivot, people who had websites that were manageable, that could be updated really quickly, were the ones that didn't suffer as much in the immediate. And so it is a preparation for long term as we continue to move into this technology driven society. We're going to talk about what are the main components of a website. And so we're going to cover these four things today: domain name, finding the best web hosting company for your business, how to design the website, what are the key components of a website, and preparing your content, which can be like the most problematic for some people once they've gotten to the design, which is the most fun part of the website. So we'll cover these four things as we go along. So domain names. This is the beginning. This is like your address. Where am I going? What is my website going to be named? I am listing here 5 domain platforms where you can purchase your domain. I am not advocating for any of these 5. It's up to you to do your research, but these are 5 of the most popular ones that exist out there: domain.com, Bluehost, Network Solutions, HostGator, and GoDaddy. Domain.com, as a broad agreement, is considered one of the best domain registrars because of the reasonable pricing. It's easy to maneuver. It's easy to get support if you need it, and so that's what is kind of like domain.com is easy and you should go there. However, there are many others where you can buy your domain name, and they're listed here. Bluehost and HostGator offer free domain names when you choose to build a website on their platforms. And so something to consider: domain, network, and GoDaddy, you need to purchase and then go and build your website. With Bluehost and HostGator, if you choose to build a website with their platforms, they give you the free domain name. And I'm going to share with you my screen here, just a quick example. If you go to domain.com and you're ready to purchase a domain name, you're thinking about it, what should my name be? And you come up with, maybe kcbeverages.com is the name of your business, and you want kcbeverages com. So you can search whether that name exists. And so domain.com will tell you right there, kcbeverages.com is no longer, it's taken. It's not available for sale. You could buy .net, .org, .tech, .space, .online, and all these other dots. But if you want to stick to the .com era, which is the most popular and most recognizable, you then need to look for a different domain. So it's really quick and easy. Say you want to say buy Casey Beverages 2022.com instead. And there it is. It's available for you to purchase. Right here, it's $20 for 2 years. You can get protection for $17, and then your total will be $38 for 2 years for this domain. Now you are the owner automatically when you purchase it. And so remember to we'll talk about later, but renewing and make sure you pay it every 2 years. Otherwise, it goes back to the ownership of domain.com. So very easy way to purchase a domain name on domain.com, Bluehost Network, HostGator, or GoDaddy. The biggest thing is whether or not that domain name is available for you to purchase. But the pricing should be, for most names out there, the pricing is very inexpensive. You're talking about $10, $15 a year to keep that domain. And the biggest thing is, if you don't pay for it when it expires, those platforms will take ownership of that domain name, and it can be very difficult to get it back if somebody purchases it right away, or if the company raises its price because they know that you want that domain name, they can raise the price and now you have to pay more. And so just being aware that if once you buy a domain name, that you ensure you pay for it on a yearly basis or 2 years. Every 2 years, your credit card is up to date if you're doing online payments. And so that's the domain name. First part, getting that, ensuring you have it to get started. So, what are the components of a website? We covered domain name, purchasing or free. Now we're going to go into finding a web hosting company. What is going to work for you? And once again, I'm going to just give you basic information. I am not endorsing anything in particular today. So, where to build your website? There are two types of website building platforms you may think about it. One is a website builder, and one is a content management systems builder. Website Builder is what we're going to focus on today. This is the easy to use, user friendly, click and drag, a design themes already created. This is the Wix, the Squarespace, the Weebly's out there. The content management systems are more of it's an application that is used to manage content. So it's behind the scenes. It's kind of like a more of the HTML, the CSS, the WordPresses of the world. And WordPress is a perfect example of the content management system. HubSpot has one, Joomla is another one. And so those are they require a little bit more technical aspect, more like coding mentality. You bring in plugins. You have a lot more freedom, but it does take a lot more to get used to that. So today we're going to talk about website builders, and here are the pros for each one of them as you're thinking. For the majority of the session is you can design your own website on a website builder. That's what it's intended for. On the content management systems, it's recommended that you hire somebody to design and build your website on one of those platforms because it's much more time consuming and it just that's just a little bit more intricate. So pros of a website builder, it's very easy to use, as I mentioned. You don't need additional software. You don't need technical knowledge. It's very fun and kind of just drag and it's easy to learn in the moment. They have updates and security aspects are handled by those platforms. You don't have to worry about that. And it's predefined design templates. So, you just pick and choose these templates and you just start on the other side, the content management system. So I want you to know in the future, or if you're thinking about paying for somebody to build it, these are the pros. You can choose the hosting company. You can take your website wherever you want. You can move your website every year, every 2 years if you're unhappy with who's hosting your website. It's great for multi-language websites, technical flexibility. If you really want to do something very creative on your website, it allows you to do source code and really change things up in a way that a website builder is more predetermined, and you can get more features. There's thousands of plugins out there that you can incorporate that make your website function a little bit differently. So those are kind of just the pros of both. Today, we're going to concentrate on website builder, but you should know also the cons. So on the con side of the website builder is you cannot always add extra features. So it depends on which platform you choose. Some features are available, some are not. You might have to pay for some features that you really want, or they just won't even have them available. It isn't as flexible. And so it's one thing that you're just going to be kind of like, well, these are the 25 themes that they offer, and that's it. You have to like choose one of those themes and go with it. So the flexibility is not always available, and they aren't designed for very complicated projects. So it's just making sure it's more of a basic, a fun, like it gets the job done. It's quick, it's easy, it works really well, but it's not going to be something like super complicated that you're going to be able to achieve effectively on the website builder. On the content management system, some cons is there's no personal technical support. Your website designer is your technical support, so they should know what they're doing or uh, figure out via their experience. Creative freedom depends on the template, so it depends on which one you use. Will depend on how much freedom you have. Additional cost for plugins as well, depending on which plugins your designer is using. And you might not be able to handle those small aesthetic or updates because it can be a little complicated sometimes on the WordPress sites or on the other. But at the end of the day, it's about your short-term goals versus long-term goals. What are you're wanting? What are you wanting now, or do you want something in a year? Where are you going to be in 10 years? So the recommendation is always nowadays for us, if you're going to build a website, you're going to invest in your business to go in the content management system, the WordPress of the world. But if your budget is tight and you want to do it on your own and you want it now, then the website builders work great for all that. Um, and so we're going to start with comparing websites, the overall comparison. And so I chose five of the more popular ones that exist out there that you've probably heard of. And so this is from Website Builder Expert blog. It's not my creation. You can go and check it out, and you can also compare different other providers and platforms that exist out there. So this is the overall rating. They give a 4.7 to Wix as the best all around, the more user friendly, the more that gets things done easily. However, the other ones are not quite behind. A 4.3, a 4.1, a 4, and a 3.8 is not totally saying you shouldn't use any of these platforms. And so you can see right there the best for award, a dream for creatives. You're talking about the Squarespace, best for extremely small businesses, Weebly, best for help and support, Site 123, and fastest to build a website, GoDaddy. And so this is where we should start. What are your objectives? What's your budget looking like? What are you trying to accomplish with your website? Ease of use. Wix does have a very high ease of use, but so does Site 123 and GoDaddy. And then websites powered, Wix does have 110 million websites out there compared to 50 million for Weebly, 2 million for Squarespace. So that just gives you a little bit of like, Wix just has a little bit more of um, the market, which allows them to have a little bit more data and research as to what users are wanting or where are some of those frustrations, which then allows them to hopefully make those necessary changes in real time. Where the Squarespace, Weebly, Site 123, GoDaddy still very useful, still function well. They get the job done, but depending on where you are in terms of your budget, your knowledge, your time, your expertise, this is something to think about as you move forward with choosing which website provider you're going to go with. In terms of design, themes, responsive themes, mobile, design flexibility, design assistance. This is another way to look at it. What are you wanting to do with your design? We look at Squarespace as a number 5 with design flexibility themes. They have way more themes. It's more for creatives. You can have a bigger option compared to the others. That doesn't mean you will not get something really great from Wix or Weebly or Site 123. Responsive themes. What are we talking about there? That when you make a change on your website design on the platform, that it automatically changes for the mobile. So with Wix, you will have to design your website on a desktop format, and then you just switch over to mobile and see if that design works. If not, you make changes on the mobile. And so it just when you make changes on Squarespace, it automatically adjusts so that it works for both mobile, desktop, iPad, all those mobile devices. Where Wix, you have to do it on your own. So something to think about there. You're going to have to work a little bit harder to ensure your website looks great on desktop and looks great on mobile and looks great on iPad. And so across the board, most of them do it except for Wix. Mobile editor, right there. If you want to change something on your website and that it looks really cool on a desktop, but you know what, like this picture I don't like for the mobile for whatever reason, and you just want to change the picture or hide that picture on mobile, you cannot do that on Weebly, Site 123, or GoDaddy. So something to think about. Is your mobile website going to look do you want it to look way different than on the desktop on an iPad? And if so, then something to consider there. Design flexibility, you have the 4.5, 4.6 there for Squarespace and Wix, that you do have some flexibility with design. They have really cool themes. They have really cool templates that you can manipulate in some way, shape, or form. But none of them are five, right? And so that's where I go back to like on a WordPress, that would be a five because a designer can come in and really adapt that website to whatever you may be with plugins and different code. And so you'll never get a five there. And then assistance, whether you get assistance from the platform, from the designers, from guidance, articles. That's what that entails there. We're going to move it to pricing, comparing pricing with these platforms. Wix does not have a free trial as the writing of this blog a couple of months ago, so not sure if that has changed recently. But Squarespace does give you a free trial. And then you talk about free plan. Some of them give you a free plan, the opportunity to have a free website. Of course, this free website will be super limited. It will contain ads sometimes, and your domain name doesn't belong to you. So it'll say wix.com/kcbeverages.com, for example, so people know that you didn't buy the domain. It belongs to Wix. So something to think about as you're talking about a business and having authority and authenticity. Number of plans that exist within the platforms, about how much the entry plan is, and most popular monthly plan. So you're really talking about the $20 a month range for Wix and Squarespace, a little bit cheaper for the other three. And as we go along, you're seeing why, because the offerings of those platforms tend to be less for the designer. And once again, it's about your objectives. What are your needs as a business owner, as a solopreneur for your website? Features, something really cool to think about when you're trying to design your website. What are you looking for? What do you need? The best thing to consider, number one, is your website should always be secure. And so security should be number one as you think about websites. So SSL security right there. They all have it except for GoDaddy. For GoDaddy, you're going to have to get the SSL security certificate on your own and then ensure it's applied. And so that's a little bit more technical stuff and not impossible, but you're going to have to purchase that security certificate on your own and then ensure that you put it to use there. And so something to think about: security, security, security. Those domains we talked about, they give you free domains. SEO control. We're not going to dive into search engine optimization today, but SEO is super important as you're designing a website and completing your website. And so they give a five to Wix about SEO control. And yeah, it's a really cool template that they give you. It's a guide on how to do SEO on Wix. But once again, if you don't know what SEO is and you've never done it, it becomes another complicated part of the website design process. But SEO is super important. There are super plugins like Yoast, Yoast, that work for like plugins. It's a plugin that works for WordPress. That's super much more intense and in depth than these platforms. But at least these platforms give you an opportunity to play around with SEO and make that a part of your website. Exporting your website, something to think about as well. If you are in 4 years, you decide you want to change, update your website or take it somewhere else, Wix does not allow you to export your website. That means your website is kind of just stuck there with Wix. You can take your words, you can take your images, you can take your colors, but you won't be taking it as a whole and then being able to transfer it. So something to think about: long-term goals versus short-term goals. Restoring websites, email services, mobile apps. Those all, kind of cool features. They all have them, or the majority of them have them. But thinking about your objective as well is super important in the features that you're looking for your business and your website. Functionalities, blogging right there. If you are going to use a website to blog and it's something that's super important for you, then look at those numbers, right? Those scores, the fives, the 4.5s. Um, I just saw, can I slow down? This will all be recorded and on YouTube, so you can go ahead and take a look at it later on YouTube again and pause wherever it's needed. But thank you. E-commerce, once again, really important if you're going to sell stuff on your website. There you go. All of them offer that e-commerce. I think it's really good to dive into what type of e-commerce you're looking for. I know like WooCommerce is one of the most popular ones out there. Shopify is another one. It's really to think about, can I use these platforms and adapt them, and do they integrate with my website? Doing your homework ahead of time is super important so that you're not stuck with something you really didn't want or that you didn't prefer, but you made a choice and now you're stuck with that platform. Newsletters, membership creators. These are little things that enhance your business, that make your business a little bit more professional, that helps you grow. And so just ensuring that you know that these functions exist or they don't exist, and whether you will be available to use them. Um, and so so once again, we're talking about a basic website today, very basic. There is like higher level of base of websites that we're not going to cover today. That's for another day, or yeah, another workshop. But e-commerce is a whole other type of website that requires a little bit more in-depth information, knowledge, what's the purpose, databases, product inventory, all that. So today this is the basic today, looking at where you are. And if you're going to go to e-commerce websites, I suggest you really take a look for a different workshop or contact somebody to like get guidance on ensuring that you get the best e-commerce website for you. Support, if you're going to need support, they offer email support, phone support, live chat. I don't know about you, but I'm still a little bit old fashioned and I really enjoy talking to somebody on the phone every once in a while. So, something that's kind of important for me, Squarespace does not offer any phone support. Something to be aware of. If you are one of those people, then just think about it. What is it going to look like when you need support, when you're having issues with your website, with your platform, when you need help? So, something to think about. Live chat, Wix doesn't offer live chat. They're more email, phone, and so think about that as you move forward, because it can be a deal breaker for some people, but some people just don't have those deal breakers when it comes to support and talking to people when they need assistance. And so I go back to the overall, based on all these priorities, decisions, design, features, that the overall rating that this website builder expert.com blog gave is a 4.7 to Wix, 4.3 to Squarespace, 4.1 to Weebly, 4, and a 3.8. Uh, but that doesn't mean that because something is a 4, that is not the best platform for you. And so, very important, once again, is this is information that you should take and dive into and say, you know what? This is the right one for me for now, for this time. And so, really important to think about that. And once again, you can go to websitebuilderexpert.com and do the comparison. There's other platforms out there, and it allows you to just really keep comparing and what scores they gave. You might, talk to somebody else and says, Wix is the worst. Well, maybe it's their experience or they have their reasonings, but here is a more overall why these final scores and final ratings were given. And so I hope they're useful to you as you're thinking about where to build your website. And so that's the second part, choosing, right? We went from domain name. What's the name? What do I want my website to be named? Where do I purchase it? How do I get it? To finding, okay, now which web hosting company am I going to use? Because this is going to be where you're going to create the magic for your business. Because the design happens once you select your domain name and your hosting company, and we'll dive into design. What? How? How do you design your website? How to make what makes a great website? So, a couple of things here. Your website should have clear purpose, a clear audience, straightforward navigation, style. The brand should be wherever you are in your website, the brand should pop out. The same colors, the wording, the fonts. It should be really easy to navigate and see that you're in the same place. Sometimes you move from one page to the other and it goes from gray and black and yellow to blue and pink and red. And you're like, wait a minute, what just happened here? Am I still in the same website? And so, as you're really thinking about your website and the design of it, it really has to be designed for your audience with a clear purpose. You not very easy to navigate. And we're going to jump into all these as we move along. So, the purpose. What is the purpose of your website? Before you jump in, think about it. Is it to sell a product? Which we're talking about an e-commerce website, which is a whole other story, right? Is it to introduce a business or an enterprise? Is it to blog and solely blog? Is your website just going to be used to inform and educate? And that's the purpose. Showcase photography, showcase a portfolio, or to gather information. Because each one of these purposes, which is the main objective of your website, will also help you determine which platform to use. If you're going to blog and that is the sole purpose of your website to just put out blogs and really engage with a community through blogging, then that is something that is a feature that's super important as you're looking through the website platforms. But if your key purpose of your website is to showcase your photography because you're a photographer and that's maybe your business, but showcasing the photography is super critical, then that creative space of Squarespace might be the best platform, even though Wix has a higher rating. And so the purpose is essential. To determining which platform you are. But having a purpose is super important for you because otherwise you want to do everything and that means you don't do anything well. Which brings us to our audience. Um, the audience is you're building a website for your audience. It is not a website for you as the business owner or the solopreneur. It is a website for your audience, and I think we forget that a lot. I get a lot of one-on-one consultations, and we're talking about the website, and they're talking about like, I love this, I really love this, and I look at them and I say, well, does your audience, does your customer love it as much as you love it? Because if they don't love it, they're going to leave the website, and that is a missed sale. It is a missed opportunity. And a lot of the times I ask, tell me about the colors. How did you choose the colors for your website? Oh, I love pink, or I love purple, or I love navy blue. Oh, great. But does your audience, will they get the same love as they're looking at your website? And so if you don't get anything else today, is that as you're building your website, the website is designed for your audience, not for you. And so they should enjoy the design. They should enjoy the images. They should find the content meaningful. The content should be speaking to them, not at them. And so it is like as a client, as a potential client, when I come into a website, I want the website to talk to me, to feel like it's a relationship between a website and I. And so the images should convey that, the colors, the navigation, the words. And so the last thing is that you need your audience to act. You want them to do something when they're on your website. And so you are the designer. You need to tell them what to do once they arrive at your website. And so that is your important part of the call to action. What do you want each person to do when they arrive on the home page, when they arrive on the contact page? You have to tell them. Can't assume just because you as a designer know what you want them to do, that doesn't mean they as the audience understand or know or can follow. And so very important there. If anything, once again, you get out today is make sure you design your website for your audience, not for yourself. So what should a basic website have? Um, we'll start with the homepage, basic services or your products page, your contact, I always say testimonials. Now, your testimonials can be incorporated into the home page or incorporated throughout the whole website. It doesn't have to have a whole page of testimonials, but it's really important that you do bring that authority into your website. So, testimonials should be somewhere scattered or on your home page, or you can make your own page of testimonials as well if that's what something you want. About you, who are you, your business? Make sure there's an about you page. Make sure that you have a social media links on every page, on your header, on your footer, wherever it belongs, something that looks good, but people can click and follow, click and follow. Contact number, email, it should be very mobile friendly, or mobile responsive. When you click on your email on your website, the email app should pop up and they can start typing the email. So very important when they click on your phone number on mobile, the phone should quickly say, call this number, because nobody wants to memorize a 7-digit number these days and then move on to a different app on their phone and dial those numbers. Those times are long gone. And so mobile friendly contact number, email. We talk about call to action. What do you want your audience to do? You need to tell them. That's the call to action. Very important things that we sometimes forget because we're so engage with the design of the website is we forget about Google Analytics and SEO setup. And so Google Analytics is a free analytical platform that allows you to capture data as you're going day by day, month by month. You don't have to do anything with the data, but capturing it is so important as you move your business forward. And so, setting up Google Analytics with your website. It's very important. So you can set up a free account on googleanalytics.com or Google Analytics, Google it, and it'll come up. And then once your website is being designed, you can just go ahead and um, connected together. Very important. Google Analytics is better than the data that the platform gives you. It's just much more in depth, and there's so much more to it when you're ready to elevate your business and really learn what's working about your website and what is not working. Diving into that data is super important. But once again, a lot of people don't set it up, and then there is no data to inform us. SEO, another thing that people forget um, to set up, and yeah, it can be tedious, it can be a little confusing, it can be a little frustrating. But maybe that's when you get help. That's when you hire somebody just to come in and help with the SEO at the very end. But make sure you set it up because otherwise, your website is not going to compete as well in the internet as you want it to. It's not going to be shown as often. It's not going to pop up on Google, Google Maps and whatnot. And so the basics. These are basics when you're designing, ensuring that you have this. You're going to be good to go. Later on, you can definitely improve it and add anything that you think is missing, or you get some advice one-on-one consultations to feel like, okay, now you have the basics. How can we improve this website? That's always a good thing as well. So now we're going to get to the last part of the basics of a website, and is that preparing your content. And I added this because it's really important, because words matter, not only for SEO, because you're going to be found when people search. If you don't have words on your website, when the algorithm is scanning and going through your website, they're not going to find these keywords, so you're not going to be found, and then you're going to be frustrated because you have this amazing website, but it's not being looked at. And so the words, your content, you should have content on every single page of your website. Your website should not just be filled with images. That's great if that's a purpose, but you should add content because that's really important for SEO, for being found, to engage your audience as they're looking at it. So make sure that you prepare your content in a thoughtful way. And today I'm just going to do a quick little example. I've actually done a how to write content for a website. That's a whole hour. Done them here a couple years ago at the BACP, but it's really in depth. Today is going to be super simple, right? But it can be a start on how to write content. So here's my recommendation. We start with making a list of all the keywords that describe your business, or for your homepage. If you're talking about content for your product page, make all a list of all the keywords that describe your products. If you're talking about the About You page, make a list of all the keywords that describe you or your business. So every single page, the content has to be different. And so this formula can be applied to every page on your website. And so make a list of a bunch of keywords. It could be honesty, it could be integrity, it could be environmentalist. Um, Tons. Just think about everything that describes your business or your product or your brand. And so, boom, 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 boom. You're making this list. Don't stop yourself. Just go forward with a bunch of words. Then my recommendation to make it simple is to circle the top three words that set you apart from your competition. And so you might have had 20 words. And yeah, those 20 words do describe you. But choose the three words that are different that your competition is not using. If you're a car salesman and everybody's using, inexpensive or cheap or low price, well, then maybe you should think of three different words because definitely use low price at some point, but you don't need those three words to define your website. Okay, once you have those three words circled, we want to move to in a different direction and identify a problem that your client has. Because remember, your website is designed for your client, not for you. So, okay, you have to put yourselves in the shoes of your client. Who is coming to that website? And we always say 80% of the people who buy a product or service from you have a profile. That profile it doesn't really change. This is a profile, and you dive deep into a profile. Your customer persona, your customer profile. Well, this customer profile represents 80% of your clients. Those 80% of your clients have a problem. What is that problem that your business, your products solves? Okay, using those three words, we're now going to create a story that tells them their problem can be solved with these three words. And this is how we solve it. And then we share it, get people revise it, get people's input, and then bring it fully to your website and attach images, attach space, make it work, call to action button. And so the key here is you need content. Well, this is a simple formula to decide what kind of content you want to write. And so, an example, if you're a residential cleaning company, this is your business. You clean homes, okay? Residential, you clean homes. Well, finally, after making an exhaustive list, we came up with organic cleaning supplies. We're health aware and we work behind the scenes. We're kind of invisible. Like we don't bother the homeowners as we're cleaning. We don't have loud music. We're not stomping. We're not yelling at each other. So it's a very like work behind the scenes. Health is very important to us, so we're conscious of being healthy and not bringing in any diseases into the home, and especially with COVID today. And then we use organic cleaning supplies. Okay, so we identified those three words. Now we're going to go with the problem. The client has a problem. Now, the client has many problems, mind you, but we need to boil it down to that one main problem. In this case, we came up with this client wants a house, a clean house for their family without worrying about their children getting sick. Okay, so we think about okay, there are no vaccines for children. They still want a clean house because they're busy working and busy taking care of the kids, but they don't need to worry. This is the last of their worries, but they want somebody to come in still and clean. Okay, they have a problem though. They want this house clean, but they don't want to worry. We have three words. And so now is when you create this mini story to um, to go ahead and showcase on your website. And I'm going to read this, but you can also read it on your end. Do you worry about your children getting sick these days? During these turbulent times, the last thing you want is to have your children fall ill, no matter what that illness is. At Organic Cleaning Services, we know how you feel. This is why our business takes extra precautions to keep you and your family safe while we clean your house. Not only do we use organic products 100% of the time, but we also ensure every one of our employees goes through a COVID health certification class. We work behind the scenes hard to ensure your house stays safe and clean before, during, and after we're there. Call us today at 855 558 8558 to set up an appointment and let us keep you safe and clean. Okay, so this is a mini commercial. It's a little story. We've identified the problem. We've told them how we can solve it, and we've highlighted those three keywords. This is the content that somehow you incorporate on your website, and you break it up with images. You break it up with a testimonial, maybe, or you put a testimonial at the bottom. You put a call to action where they can click on that number and dials. And so this is something that sometimes is forgotten, and people just stick on, throw on words on their website because the design is what they think is the most important. Well, when somebody on Google searches residential cleaning, healthy residential cleaning, 100% organic, Google will scan your website and pick up these words, and the likelihood of them showing your website versus somebody who doesn't have those words is very, very high. And so that's why content matters. Google will not scan the colors. Google will not necessarily scan, your logo. What Google will scan is the words and the description of your images, and whether they fit with what somebody's looking for or not. And if you have those right words and you have your SEO set up on your website, it all comes together. Thank you so much. I hope you had a wonderful time learning about websites and the basics of websites. My name is Francisco Ramirez. I am a Chimbly consultant. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and you can email us as well for one-on-one consultations on marketing strategy, marketing tactics, social media, or website design consulting. I will now open it up for questions that we might have since we have some time. How do we
A
want to
lot of
do
questions.
this?
Can you list examples of website builders and content builders?
Can I list example of website builders and content builders in terms of companies and people who do it? Unfortunately, right now, I don't have anybody in mind. Usually, I like to check in with them to see if they're taking in new customers. But LinkedIn is a great source to kind of say like, hey, does anybody recommend a good website builder or a good content builder? It's a really good source. If you go on LinkedIn and ask for that suggestion, you get really cool recommendations. Or WBDC, the Women's Business Development Center, you can call them and they have a list of, people that they recommend. So, at the end of the day, when you're choosing a website builder or a content designer or content builder, interview them. I suggest you interview them like you're interviewing somebody for a job. Make sure that you work well together. Make sure they understand your vision, your mission. Make sure that you both are on the same page, because that's really important. The last thing you want is to start a project and it go sour. Unfortunately, I've seen that a couple of times, and it's no fun for both parties involved. So LinkedIn, my recommendation, go put it out there and be like, hey, anybody recommend these? And you'll be sure to get a good amount. And then go do your homework. Do you have another
How
question?
much, how much does a security certificate range in cost?
Yeah, they're not expensive. I think last time I checked, maybe like 12.99 was around the, between 12 and $15. It's very inexpensive. It's already included in the, the Wix of Squarespace, but I think it's like 12.99 or 10.99 nowadays. Okay, I just looked it up really quickly, and it ranges from $5 per year to $1,000 per year, depending on what you're trying to secure. And so, for us smallpreneurs, if you're really looking at data like Target or credit card companies, that SSL security is probably going to be super high, right? Because it's a lot of data, a lot of personal information. If your website is really just to secure to ensure hackers don't come in and change everything, it's probably going to be on the way lower end. And so, yeah, 5 to 1,000 is what I'm getting right now. But you shouldn't be paying a ton of money because unless you really have important data, which then you should really consult a expert on security. So, uh, anything else?
Uh, for examples of a website, what looks do you refer?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, for examples of a website, of how a website should look, which one do you prefer?
How it should look.
Like they
Uh,
need a reference point. So you had an
oh,
example of a good website. Which one would you use that to start your own? I'm assuming that's what they're asking.
yeah. That's a really hard because every website is so unique and ideal, right? Like I think the biggest thing is having the components we mentioned, right? We talked about. Let me try to go back here. Um, can't go back for some reason, but we talked about having that home page, having the product services really nicely laid out. The color scheme makes sense. I can probably go in and really give you like 20 sites that just work really well and immediately find 20 sites that don't, right? But some have video, some don't. Some have really cool images, some have average images. The bottom line is to ensure that your client is really responding to what you're putting out there for them. And so, yeah, video is always great, but if your client is an older population and they don't have the patience or the technology to like click on a video and click in and out, video's not going to work for that ideal client, right? And so it's really looking at who is your target audience and then starting from there. What do they like? What colors do they want? How many pages can they handle? Um, Amazon for a lot of people is a horrible website because it's so basic and it's just repetitive and you think you're in the same page unless you look at the picture, right? But it works like marvelous because it's just easy and it's repetitive and you know where to buy and where to check out really quickly. And so when we're talking about designing and efficiency and the overall outcome, it would be unfair for me to show you like this is the best website because the purpose of that website might be really different from the purpose of your business. And so really that's where the one-on-one conversations come in with your website designer or with a marketing specialist to be like, what are you trying to achieve? And then now we can get examples of those types of websites that exist out there.
I'm interested in a social service agency. How do I better drive people to my website?
Great. That's a whole strategy on social media. Your social media strategy's objective should be to bring people to your website. That's a really big recommendation. And so every post that you think about for your social media should have in the back of your mind, how do I incorporate my website into this post? Um, and so people don't want to just click on a website if it's not relevant or if it's not going to give them added information. And so we have a post and the post has amazing information and then click here and they go to a website and it's like, where's that information? I wanted to know more about that. They're going to get frustrated and they're not going to click the next time. And so you're really thinking about the psychology behind the scenes of any client, any person clicking on it, your strategy needs to be like, why am I sending this person to this page on my website? How is my post related to that page? And what we call the landing page. The landing page is where you send people through your social media strategy, but that landing page should make sense. And it shouldn't just be like the home page, always the home page, because people will just get tired of that and stop clicking. And so you want people to drive to your website. Your social media posts should have information that makes them want to learn more. And then your landing page should not be a clickbait. It should actually be a page that allows them to learn more about that post. That's one of the basic strategies of driving more traffic from your social media accounts to your website.
Designer have to see your bank account information.
They should not. Your web designer should get paid through whatever means you pay them, and they should not have to see your bank account information. No, not in my experience.
Cybersecurity insurance.
Um, it depends on the type of business you have. We have in the past, currently are not designing websites in 2022, but in the past we have designed websites and we have not gotten cybersecurity insurance for those clients. None of them have asked for it, and we haven't recommended it because their information wasn't uh, the type of information that needed that extra added layer of insurance. At the end of the day, I would like to know more about what type of business and why the insurance might be useful or beneficial. It's once again, data is really important. If your website is gathering and holding a ton of data, especially social security numbers or credit card information or addresses with social security number, then something to think about if you're not trustworthy or you're not trusting of the security that you currently have available.
What all should be in the email to certify?
I'm not understanding that question. If somebody can elaborate, I don't know what email and what are we certifying. I see another question here. I'm finally caught up on the chat myself. What should you look for when designing a website to avoid your site from slowing down due to many product images? Great question. One of the mistakes people do commit when designing websites is that their website is very slow to download on a mobile or on the desktop. If your site is slow to download, you will have people leave it. That's like research, data driven research. So you want to make sure that the images that you're selecting for your website are images that are within the recommended pixels and uh, recommended from that platform that the download won't slow down. And so every platform has a different range of images that are recommended. Some of them just won't let you upload bigger images just because they don't want your website to slow down. And so I'm not going, I don't know the dimensions or the pixels that are required or expected, but the best way to put it is go and put up images and then try to download your website. If it takes longer than 2 seconds, we have a problem and you should really change your images. Another thing you should do is if you have too many product images on one page and that's really slowing it down, you might want to consider breaking it up into 3 pages or 4 pages so that every page only has X amount of images and it's quicker to download. And so you can play around with that. It doesn't have to be one solution for everybody, but you do want to make sure that your website does download quickly. Images are the biggest issue, or videos, too many videos that are very large. And so recommendation once again is to break it up, have different pages for each video or different pages for a couple of images so that you don't run into that trouble, into that problem. Okay, how can we use services like Fiverr most effectively? Should we look for developers, designers, or both? I've had mixed experiences from clients with Fiverr. Some love it and will do everything to continue working with that platform, and other people say the product that they received from Fiverr employees or contractors was mediocre, or it didn't quite meet the requirements that they were looking for. And so whenever you are asking for a logo or for a website design or for content from somebody who you're not meeting with and you're not having ongoing conversation, it's going to create potentially some a result that might be less than ideal than what you're expecting. And so being prepared for that. Some people have an amazing experience with the contractors that work with Fiverr, and they get exactly what they wanted. But it just depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, developers exist on Fiverr, designers exist on Fiverr. I personally have never used it, but I've had mixed results from clients who have used Fiverr, both positively and negatively. And that's the bottom line. You're not getting that one-on-one service, right? And so if you really want that one-on-one service, sit down, the understanding your mission, your vision, your what you want to accomplish, your goals, Fiverr will never accomplish that, in my opinion. But sometimes budgets are tight, and that's the best way to go. And you might get something that you then can tweak a little bit after it's developed. So, title of this webinar was I just forgot, but getting started with your website. That is the title of this webinar. Getting started with your website. What should you look for when designing a website to avoid your site from slowing down due to many problems? Oh, sorry, I read that one a bit. Um, recommend any website designers we talked about. I highly suggest you go on LinkedIn and ask for those. Um, what are the preferred method of payments to have on your site, and why? How do you make sure the site are secure, encrypted from hacking? Are these usually included as a plugin? So preferred methods nowadays, I mean, all the Squares, the Apple Pay, the Google Pay, the all those are secure. They've been around for enough years. They know what they're doing. There's always going to be an evil force out there, or somebody playing around, or hackers are not going away, right? And so I'm not going to come here and say 100% everything's secure, but when somebody's been doing something for a long, long time, you can bet that they're secure. So I wouldn't go with, like, in terms of payment processing, some company, that you've never heard of, or that the ratings are pretty low, or that they don't have many ratings. That's where I my recommendation is to pay for those services, because you do want to ensure that the money, the payment processing systems, and the security of your site, along with your client's data, is secure. And so that, in my opinion, is something we shouldn't not pay, or get something that's super cheap, because we might be paying for it later in a negative way. So yeah, how do you make sure the site is or are secure? We talked about SSL. Most of these platforms get you the SSL security. You see the little lock on the top left of your domain name on the website. It means your site is secure. And from my understanding, is these companies are using the best technology available at this time to ensure that hackers aren't getting in so easily, right? And so a plugin is only necessary if you're really wanting to expand your security, or if you're developing on WordPress or whatnot, and you want to make sure that certain information is even more secure, or information is encrypted or encoded. And that's a whole other level of security that I'm not um, familiar with. But usually, if you pay for a processing payment system, those are going to be secure nowadays because that's one of the biggest reasons why they're still selling and still in business. Number two, if you have SSL security certificate, you're going to be secure. And number three, plugins only if you want extra security, but I'm not as informed about those today. I've built a Wix website and purchased their domain. Can I take my domain with me and how? If you purchase your domain, the domain belongs to you. All you have to do is continue paying for the domain. You should have gotten some kind of certificate when you purchase your domain. No matter where you purchase it from, you get an email saying this is your domain, it belongs to you, and you can take that domain and create a website anywhere you want. The domain is something that can be moved from one platform to another. You should have gotten a certificate, as I said, via email. That certificate has some kind of code or number range. Those numbers are what you tell the next host that you want to transfer domain or start over. And that's as simple as that. But yes, you can move your domain because it belongs to you. I have a second request about the I second the request from a developer. Yeah, a developer, as I said, I want to see a portfolio of their work, what kind of websites they have developed. Have they developed websites in the same business industry as mine, or will my industry be the first time they develop a website? Is the developer experience, what kind of coding are they use? Are they responsive? If you're having an issue reaching your developer from the get-go, they're not answering emails, you might want to reconsider, right? They might be too busy with too many projects and you're not going to get yours as quickly as you want. Is your developer open to suggestions? Or does your developer, is your developer sometimes sees himself or herself as an artist and they just want to be left alone to design something and you get what you get, so that's their craft. And other developers, it's an ongoing communication and it's a back and forth. And so it's all about what you're looking for in terms of the experience of developing your website. How much say do you want, and how much communication are you seeking? That's going to dictate what type of developer you choose to hire. And once again, if we go back to Fiverr, you won't be getting a ton of this. It's kind of like, thank you, this is what we want, and then they'll come back with the product, and that's some people are very unhappy with that. Due to no information. Yeah, somebody asked about the cart on your website. The cart is part of the e-commerce store. You're responsible for all that behind the scenes, but the designer has nothing to do with your bank account. You set up the e-commerce on your own. If you want your designer to set up your e-commerce and payment processing and banking, you're giving them that extra responsibility, then yes, of course, they're going to see your bank account. But if you're the designer doesn't have to have access because you can set that up on your end, and that's kind of a separate from the design of the e-commerce website. So they should not have access to your bank account if you're managing your inventory and your products and your sales on a platform that's just connected to the website itself. How do we know if a pic is open to use, such as a stock photo, and are there any sites you recommend? Yeah, Google has a website that you can upload the image, Google image check copyright. I'm Googling it, but there is pixie.com. Yep. Um, Pixie, Pixy.com is a website. You upload an image and it tells you if it has a copyright. If it has a copyright, you shouldn't be using it on your website. Okay. Do you need to buy a domain name before deciding on purchasing your website hosting company, website builder, or can you decide which company you want to use first? Um, it really doesn't matter. You won't be able to start your website, you won't be able to start the designing process without the domain name, but you can choose to buy a you can choose the platform and like sign up and everything. And the first thing is like, okay, give us your domain name. And I'm like, okay, now I have to buy my domain name. Or you can go buy your domain name and then be like, okay, now I'm ready to choose my website. There's one or the other doesn't, it's not, there's no right answer for step one, step two, but you will need the domain name to get started on your website development. How do you add your cart for your clients to purchase and the web designers or developers are as sitting with you with designing the website? That one is you have to choose which platform you're going to use for sales. There's different out there depending on your platform. And once you choose that sale, it'll automatically be added to your website. And now you can design where you want it, how you want it, product description, all that fun stuff. And so it's part of that. Like once you decide on what you want, it'll come up on your website. Um, I see. I got outreach from QuickBooks vendor asking me a social service agency to consider cybersecurity. Yeah, that's out of my domain, unfortunately, with QuickBooks and cybersecurity and all that. So I'd recommend you talk to somebody one-on-one for that one. GoDaddy.com told me to only add 20 images and only 3 pages. Well, I think at the end of the day, I've not heard of that. For anybody else complaining about GoDaddy and only 3 pages. So I would say do what's best for your business, and unless they're charging you for more pages, then that's a problem and something to think about. Um, Before we end here, we're about to get to the end here, 3 minutes or so. If you enjoyed what I had to offer today, you can always leave us a review on Google My Business, Chimbly Consultants. It's always appreciated so that I can continue to do these workshops for free. I'll continue answering questions, but leaving a review on Google My Business, Chimbly Consultants is always a plus so that we can continue doing these for free. Um, okay, my. Uh, Where do you purchase? Oh, where do you purchase a domain? We covered that at the beginning, so you can look at this website on YouTube, and I'll tell you where to purchase the domain. But I think that's it for questions. If there aren't any more, I really appreciate everybody's time and being here today to learn a little bit about websites for your business. Thank you so much. Anything else?
For today's webinar, please send an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Again, that email is bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. If you would like to be a part of our certificate program that use that same email, again, that email is bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To find out more about our upcoming webinars, please visit chicago.gov/business education. Thank you so much, Francisco.
Thank you so much.